This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Support for survivors. The province announces more funding for victims of intimate partner violence. Big bill. This Nova Scotia family is warning about gaps in home insurance coverage. And Blue Nosers at the Brier. Team Nova Scotia advances to the playoffs.
Flurries this evening, overnight, and into Saturday, but we'll see some sunshine breaking through as temperatures will be near the freezing mark. Your full forecast is coming up.
The provincial government has announced more funding to support survivors of intimate partner violence. Advocates have been lobbying for more money to address the epidemic. On Thursday night, the Elizabeth Fry Society held a vigil in honor of Nova Scotians who've lost their lives to intimate partner homicide. The CBC's Selena Alders brings us that story.
Community members, advocates, and survivors took a moment of silence on Thursday night for the 7 women in Nova Scotia whose deaths have been connected to their intimate partners in recent months. They gathered for a candlelit vigil to honor the lives lost, but also imploring the government to make a change.
This is a screaming cause that needs major attention and action from our government and lawmakers. We need more funding to support victims of abuse and stricter changes in laws in order to save more lives.
Jenna Cadigan is the niece of Elaine Mosier. In January, Mosier was killed by her husband at home in Mahone Bay.
Nobody wants to be living this nightmare that our family is, and there's so much more that we can band together to do.
On Friday morning, Premier Tim Houston announced just over $23 million in new money to support survivors of intimate partner violence.
This is a community effort. It's an all Nova Scotian effort. We all share a common goal to end violence and support families. That's the goal that every single Nova Scotian shares.
This funding is in addition to the $100 million of continued support that was recently tabled in next year's budget. The new money will go toward transition houses, outreach, and violence prevention.
This funding commitment brings much needed stability to our sector and to our member organizations, ensuring that they can continue their life-saving work.
The association says the new funding is in line with its request to government. They met with Houston back in January for what he called a frank conversation.
It was an important evening for me, let's say. But still, I mean, the effort has been there all along, but the need of the moment is significant.
The funding has been requested for several years now by the organizations that are working on the ground to combat gender-based violence, and it's good to finally see it.
The Transition House Association of Nova Scotia has served around 3,500 women and children across the province just last year. They say they welcome this new investment to continue this urgent frontline work. Selena Alders, CBC News, Halifax.
A 5th person has been arrested in connection with the homicide of Devon Sinclair Marsman. 40-year-old Mark Douglas Robert Doyle is charged as an accessory after the fact to murder. Devon Marsman was 16 when he disappeared 3 years ago. His body has since been recovered. Previously, 4 people, all in their 20s, were charged. One of them, 26-year-old Trayton Marsman, is accused of second-degree murder. The others are charged as accessories after the fact. Police in Halifax now say a woman found injured in the North End last week was struck by a bus after slipping on the ice. She later died in hospital. Officers found the woman near Gottingen and Bloomfield Streets around 7 p.m. on February 28th. Police say the investigation determined the woman slipped on ice and then fell underneath the Metro Transit bus. The investigation is ongoing, but police do not expect charges to be laid. The province says it will receive $809 million from tobacco companies for the impact smoking has had on the healthcare system. Nova Scotia joined all other provinces and territories in suing the companies for healthcare costs related to tobacco use. A mediated settlement was approved by the Superior Court of Ontario on Thursday. Nova Scotia is expected to receive about $200 million in the first year and the rest over the next 15 to 20 years. Health Minister Michelle Thompson says the money will be used to bolster the health budget.
Well, I think any time that we have an injection of money into the healthcare system or into our coffers as a government, it allows us to put that money towards health, whether that's promotion and health promotion and prevention, or whether that's enhanced screening, or treatment. So certainly that money will go towards all of those things, but to what degree and amount, I really can't tell you today.
The total value of the settlement is $32.5 billion, with the provinces getting $24.7 billion. Ryan is here with the weather, and after all that rain, it sounds like things are turning colder.
Yeah, that's right. A little taste of snow for Friday night into Saturday with some lingering flurries. Before we get to that, quick look at how much rain we did see. 20 to 30 millimeters in the Halifax area, kind of a 10 to 30 millimeter shot through most of the northeast, and down to the south and west is where we did see some higher totals. Port Maitland, Yarmouth County in and around the 50 millimeter range, and some flooded basements for our friends in southern New Brunswick after some heavier rain there. Now, as we look at the future tracker outlook, we are looking at some light snow and flurries through Friday overnight, as I said, into Saturday morning. Could see a dusting to as much as a couple of centimeters. Saturday, we'll see some lingering flurries, primarily in the northeast in the morning, and then a chance for some flurries across the board into the afternoon, but some sunny breaks as well. Some pretty gusty westerly winds on Saturday, lighter winds on Sunday, and a better chance for some sunshine to break through, especially into the afternoon. And of course, Sunday's a big day. Springing forward with the clocks, Amy. So we'll have a look at what that means for sunrise and sunset times all the way through June.
Days are getting longer. All right. Thanks for that, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, businesses in the Strait of Canso region have spent weeks bracing for U.S. President Donald Trump's 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. The executive director of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce says there are several industries in the region, including Port Hawkesbury Paper, whose main market is in the United States.
I think they're feeling uncertain. I think it just feels a bit unstable. It's hard to make a decision about, it's hard to make business decisions in an uncertain climate. And I think that's probably the worst repercussion.
Felix says there are efforts underway to strengthen trade within Canada and other countries outside of the U.S. Well, Canadians are canceling their trips south of the border because of the tariffs, but Nova Scotia is still planning to send a delegation to Boston for an international seafood show. Fisheries Minister Kent Smith says rather than market to U.S. companies, provincial representatives will help Nova Scotia companies try to find new buyers anywhere but the States.
Appreciate the irony, yes, but we need to connect our exporters with importers. And it just so happens that this international seafood show takes place in Boston, and that's where the buyers and importers will be from all over the world.
Smith says introductions at the Boston show sometimes lead to deals at the biggest international seafood show in Barcelona in May. Premier Tim Houston paid tribute to the Prime Minister in the House on Friday. Federal Liberals choose a new leader this weekend, which means Justin Trudeau's time as PM is in its final days. Houston highlighted Trudeau's leadership during the pandemic and more recently his dealings with President Trump.
Despite recent events, he had a vision and a steady hand when renegotiating NAFTA during the first Trump administration. When Prime Minister Mulroney did this work, he had Ronald Reagan as a negotiating partner. Imagine the difference. Now the Prime Minister is dealing with the unexplainable behavior of a deranged man to our south.
Houston says although he's had disagreements with Trudeau, he's wishing the Liberal leader the very best of luck and is thanking him for his incredible service to Canada. And in his final days in office, Prime Minister Trudeau appointed a number of senators today to fill vacancies. One of them, former Nova Scotia MLA Tony Ince. Ince is also a co-founder and co-chair of the Canadian Congress of Black Parliamentarians, where he advocated for Black Canadians' rights. Well, when some hot water pipes burst at the rental property they own, a Nova Scotia family thought insurance would cover it. They were soon facing a roughly $100,000 repair bill. The CBC's Richard Woodbury reports.
Some of the cleanup was done.
Sarah Riles looking at the water damage her family's rental property recently suffered.
As if that was not bad enough, the family soon learned insurance was not going to cover the $100,000 bill.
We can't afford, this wasn't an expected expense. We had the home for sale and pending sale, and we were relying on that closing within days.
The family has enough to worry about. Ryle and her husband have 9 children who range in age from almost 4 to 20. Her property manager called to deliver the heartbreaking news.
All I could hear was, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, there's water everywhere." He's like, "Sarah, there's water everywhere."
3 pipes had burst. Water had pooled throughout the house, seeping through the floors, damaging walls and ceilings.
As you can see, the puddle, and right through into the bathroom.
And so what went through your head?
Oh, I was just like, oh Lord.
But the insurance claim was denied because of a concept known as a change in material risk. Because the home was no longer occupied by a tenant, its use had changed. Despite daily visits from the property manager and visits by contractors, home buyers, and realtors, the insurer considered the home vacant for more than 5 days.
So to have this situation was just shocking, absolutely shocking.
Amanda Dean says it's important to notify insurers about changes in material risk. This could be a home renovation, an extended trip away, or a rental property that's no longer occupied.
Every claim situation is different. There's always a whole host of circumstances that lead up to an event occurring where somebody has to make a claim. So that's going to involve a big conversation between typically the adjuster and the homeowner. There's a lot of details, a lot of conversation that needs to be had, but it all comes back to that contract between the insurance company and the homeowner.
After CBC News contacted cooperators, the Ryles received a call from a company executive who told them cooperators would cover the damages. The company later said the timing of the call and settlement were entirely coincidental as the claims process was ongoing.
It was a huge weight taken off of our shoulders, and we are so thankful to the cooperators for working with us now to make sure that we can get these repairs done to our home.
For the Ryles, selling the Cole Harbour rental property was a key piece of their financial security. They've owned the rental property for almost 20 years, and it's their version of a pension plan and mutual funds. The rental is off the market and will be relisted once the repairs are carried out. Richard Woodbury, CBC News, Lower Argyle.
An apartment development near a Halifax heritage building must now follow stricter blasting conditions. The Henry House restaurant on Barrington Street reported damage last year after a blast. The city tightened the rules, requiring the construction company to monitor any cracks at Henry House. The company appealed, saying the owner hadn't let them in the building, but a municipal committee denied that request.
The very initial blast here caused damage, according to the property owners, so they lost a lot of trust at that point, and they don't want to take more risks, and I understand that. I think they feel that it was a bit of a David and Goliath fight for them, and so the appeals committee was deciding in favor of David.
The Henry House owner told CBC the company refused to address her concerns and never called back. Morse and other councillors say the case shows a need for stricter blasting rules in heritage districts and will explore what changes can be made. Well, a rookie skip has ended Nova Scotia's 19-year playoff drought at the Montana's Brier. Nova Scotia's Owen Purcell defeated Ontario 7-3 in the must-win game at the Brier in Kelowna. The Halifax Curling Club rink also featured lead Ryan Abraham, second Scott Sakery, and third Luke Saunders. The coach, Luke's mother, and former CBC reporter Colleen Jones.
This is beyond what, we hoped to make the second round, but we looked at the field and thought, and then we said, why not us? And then things started falling into place for us, and they just keep playing a little bit better every game.
Nova Scotia finished the round robin with a 5-3 record. The team next plays on Saturday in another do-or-die match. And there's a peek from the lens of our harbor cam on this Friday night. Ryan will be up next with his full weather forecast. We'll see you on the other side of the break. So it wasn't quite dark when we looked at the harbor cam a few minutes ago, and days are still going to be getting longer after this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. This time on Sunday, we'll still be very bright out. And I mean, it's hard to believe we're here already. And gaining 3 minutes per day. So
That's wild.
that is a good reminder for the folks who are not going to love the darker mornings for the next few weeks, that we're going to gain it back pretty quickly. Have a look at this. This is our sunset and sunrise times for Halifax. You can see Sunday, sun setting at 7:12 p.m. And yeah, in just a couple of weeks, that morning sunrise back to about 7:15 in the morning. That is, of course, the first day of spring. And then by Easter Sunday, sunrise 6:20 in the morning, sunset after 8 o'clock. And you can see there's the summer solstice, 9 p.m. sunsets, and how quickly we gain that light through this time of year. And that sun angle, the all-important sun angle. So we're at about 40 degrees right now above the horizon, soon to be, within a month or so, excuse me, 6 weeks up towards the 60-degree range, and then, of course, peaking in the summertime. That's what we love. Yes, we are gaining that light. Now, excuse me, got a little frog in my throat here on this Friday, so bear with me. Temperatures still very mild for Cape Breton and towards eastern parts of the mainland. And note how we've really cooled off here in the west. Those temperatures have been falling. We're in the -2 to -3 range, Tri-County area into the valley. Halifax on the doorstep, so things will start to turn a bit slick as we do see those temps falling below the freezing mark. And of course, Cape Breton will follow, and the eastern parts of the mainland. Those winds, yeah, I mean, they've been pretty gusty today, no doubt, sustained in the 50, 60 kilometer per hour range right now in through the Tri-County area back into the valley, seeing some gusts in the 60 to 70 kilometer per hour range right now, and that's going to be the name of the game through tonight, even into tomorrow. Now, we've been watching as the rain has pushed out these flurries that have been wrapping in on the backside of the system. Bulk of the action has been in New Brunswick, but we will see this fill in across Nova Scotia tonight with some light snow and flurries on the tail side of this system as it moves through. A trace to a couple of centimeters certainly possible. Many of us have a pretty good shot at waking up with at least a coating on the grass. Now, as we look at the outlook, or at least the current temperatures across the country right now, 10 degrees Vancouver and Calgary. Cooler pocket here towards the northern part of the Great Lakes, and you can see that warmer air really surging up across the U.S. South. All right, let's have a look at the forecast hour by hour, and you can see where the snow will continue to push in across the province for tonight with a chance for some flurries and light snow. As I said, a trace to a couple of centimeters possible into the Saturday morning time frame. Saturday, best chance of flurries in the morning will be Cape Breton back towards the Northumberland shore under pretty cloudy skies. Into the afternoon, we're going to see some sun breaks. Still the possibility of some scattered flurries out there. Temperatures on Saturday will be around, right around the freezing mark. It's chilly as -2, it's balmy as +2 in through the South Shore and down towards the Bridgewater area. Southwest winds gusting 50 to 60 for Cape Breton and the North Shore, gusting to around 50 for the metro area, and still gusting 60 to 70 here through the Tri-County area. Now for Sunday, we're looking at the clouds a bit stubborn in the morning, and then gradually breaking up into the afternoon. I think we're becoming pretty sunny. Amherst back through Cobequid Bay, the valley down towards Yarmouth and Shelburne. That cloud, the back edge of that cloud is going to be trying to clear in through the central areas. Note the timeline here, again, pretty stubborn start, and then that cloud starting to eat away throughout the afternoon. A couple hours will make a big difference. And again, we're gaining an hour, so we may see some of that mid to late afternoon sunshine even through the metro area. It looks like Cape Breton hanging on until the evening. We are looking at Monday, pretty quiet as well, as a little area of high pressure tucks in for Monday. For Tuesday, looking quite pleasant, really, and system for mid next week we'll have to keep an eye on. Looks like it's going to be to our north, so we'll see those temperatures building with maybe a few showers mixing back to a few flurries. And another reminder, Amy, is that we do spring forward with the clocks. Make sure that you check the batteries in your smoke detector this weekend.
Yeah, that's a very good reminder. All right, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, how businesses in the Strait of Canso are bracing for the impact in the face of looming U.S. tariffs. Strait area businesses are looking at their options when it comes to dealing with American tariffs. A number of industries in the area rely heavily on trade with the U.S., including the region's largest employer, Port Hawkesbury Paper. Tanya Felix is the executive director of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce. So we know that all Canadians will feel the tariffs, but how is the Strait region, I guess, particularly exposed given the heavy industry there?
I think you noted it that we are exposed because we do have several heavy industries in our region that and some of them their main market is the United States. In particular, I guess I would refer to our Port Hawkesbury Paper comes to mind, but we also have fishing industries. We have farming as well. So some of these are do rely on the U.S. market for business.
Well, how much can you prepare for something like this?
It's a very difficult moment in time that we're in right now. The level of uncertainty around tariffs, whether they're coming or they're not coming, I think this is exceptionally difficult to prepare for because of the shifting timelines and sands around this topic. So we're really kind of at the whim of the U.S. administration on what their decisions are going to be.
Well, how does your region expand trade to other parts of the world besides the U.S.?
So since this was first announced and then we had the 30-day delay, we've been working together with the province on some strategies there, particularly, a focus on buying in the province. They're looking at their procurement, a Nova Scotia loyal program. We're also working together with the Atlantic Chamber and the Canadian Chamber, who are meeting. The Atlantic Chamber has had several meetings together to discuss what we could do and network a little bit better. As it starts to roll out, I think we'll get a little firmer in our plans. But right now we're having open communication about how we can support our members. We're uniting our message, behind the federal government and the provincial government as well, so that we have a good, strong, united voice, and the Strait area is included with that. So,
Well, when you reached out to your members, what did they come back to you with?
So I think for members, they're not 100%. Some of them are, especially our smaller members, are not fully clear how this will affect them. They know there'll be impacts, and how that will look will really depend on especially if you're maybe importing goods for sale. What are retaliation tariffs? Now that the first list is out, it gives our businesses a bit of a sense of what to expect. Cost them more to put on their shelves, but I don't know. I think I might have lost track of your question there. No. But
well, how are they feeling right now? What are they telling you about all of this uncertainty and what might or might not happen?
I think they're feeling uncertain. I think it just feels a bit unstable. It's hard to make a decision about, it's hard to make business decisions in an uncertain climate. And I think that's probably the worst repercussion of these tariffs at this particular moment, is that we've had a period of uncertainty.
Yeah, you mentioned the Nova Scotia Loyal Program. Is there anything else you think the various levels of government can do to be of assistance?
Well, I do appreciate their plan to break down interprovincial trade barriers. I think there's a great opportunity there for businesses in our area to sell within the Canadian market, and to also find suppliers that they may need. All roads seem to lead to the United States when it comes to trade. We've really built our economy around them. They've they're a huge market. They're right next door. It's been a great advantage to us to have them there. But we also, of course, trade within our own country, but there has been limits and restrictions around that, making that a little easier and supporting businesses in making those connections and in breaking into markets that they maybe have not considered before, rather they're in Canada or within the Atlantic region and also outside of Canada. So we do have some of these relationships. It's just maybe not what some businesses have relied on, and so strengthening that would be a good solution to this. Maybe not the whole solution. I mean, we do in Nova Scotia, I believe the amount is 70% of our exports go to the United States, so it's a significant reliance. So it's a big mental shift for us and also an economic shift. So.
Well, a lot to think about for sure. Tanya Felix, thank you for your time. We do appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Coming up, Canadian health officials are urging caution and vaccination as measles cases surge in parts of the country. And Team Canada, how municipalities across the country are clapping back against Donald Trump's tariff threats. Welcome back. Ottawa has announced a $6 billion aid package today for Canadian businesses impacted by U.S. tariffs. The money is meant to help farmers and exporters find new markets. The federal government is also relaxing some employment insurance rules aimed at helping businesses hang on to their workers. Olivia Stefanovich reports.
In the midst of uncertainty, the federal government is trying to offer Canadian businesses stability.
We may not know what our American neighbors will do, nor what new tale they will tell, but we are ready.
Announcing $1 billion to support farmers and an additional $5 billion to help Canadian exporters losing U.S. sales.
We want our businesses to come out from under these tariffs.
We are moving ahead with these changes despite yesterday's pause, because businesses and workers need assurances right now.
To prevent layoffs, Ottawa is also relaxing some employment insurance rules to allow workers to receive partial benefits while working reduced hours.
Whether this is going to be enough to deal with a situation that we're facing now, time will tell. I think the only thing that anyone can be confident about this at this stage is that things are likely to change.
We want to see supports with ironclad strings attached, that they are tied to keeping jobs in place.
The NDP is calling for higher, more expansive EI payments.
Right now, 60% of workers don't get coverage, so we need to cover all workers.
Counter tariffs must not be a cash cow for the government.
Meanwhile, the Conservatives want retaliatory levies used to lower taxes.
With a small sum set aside for targeted relief to workers hardest hit by the trade war.
What a pleasure to see leaders of industry and different sectors.
Justin Trudeau made one of his final public appearances as Prime Minister, speaking with business leaders on edge from the trade war.
We have to make sure we come through this not just intact, but stronger than ever before.
That's the hope, especially of small businesses, bracing for steel and aluminum tariffs to possibly take effect next week.
I don't think even trade lawyers necessarily have a full understanding of exactly what the impact is going to be, but I think we're all crystal clear about the fact that there's great uncertainty and worry.
As bad as tariffs could be, the Labour Minister says it won't be a COVID-like situation. The federal government is not expected to hand out checks to the scale it did during the pandemic, but will likely announce more support for workers. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Municipalities are joining the Team Canada approach in response to the threat of U.S. tariffs. As Alexander Silberman reports, local governments are looking for different ways to take a stand and fight back.
As soccer teams face off in this BC border city, residents are backing their community's fight against U.S. tariffs.
We got to stand strong.
Hoping canceling a contract for new American-made bleachers will send a clear message south of the border.
They should stick with Canadian-made, and we should support our Canadian economy.
For me, that was really an important statement to make.
Surrey's mayor recently deferred a vote on a $740,000 contract for the bleachers because they're made by an Indiana company.
When we hear the comments by the President of the United States, not only are they concerning, but they're extraordinarily offensive.
That rejection of Trump's calls for a 51st state and tariffs has municipalities across Canada taking a stand. Vancouver City Council passed a motion directing staff to look at dropping American suppliers. Toronto is moving forward with a similar Buy Canadian policy, and Montreal announced it would no longer make any purchases from Amazon.
We need to look under sort of the hood of every possible way that we can make our local economy more resilient to any impact.
New soccer bleachers are just a fraction of the budget here in Surrey, where 99% of goods are already purchased in Canada. So experts say canceling contracts is largely a symbolic move.
So symbolism is important, but Canadians as well as governments or administrations should realize that we cannot take a knee-jerk reaction, which is going to hurt us.
Take your time, let's go.
At the field, residents say they're happy sticking to older wooden bleachers if it means sending a message to the U.S. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Surrey, British Columbia.
StatsCan says February employment numbers were virtually unchanged from January's, ending a streak of dramatic growth. February saw a net gain of just 1,100 jobs compared with more than 200,000 over the previous 3 months. And it was far below predictions. StatsCan also noted weather. Snowstorms cut hours for 400,000 workers. Some analysts suspect that affected hiring too. The tariff turmoil was another possible factor, and in light of tariffs and today's numbers, another Bank of Canada interest rate cut is widely expected. Well, measles have been spreading at a breakneck pace in parts of Canada this year. The first 2 months of 2025 saw more measles cases than all of last year. And with families traveling for March break, public health officials are worried it's only going to get worse. Jennifer Yoon reports.
How excited are you about traveling?
Very excited, very. With the excitement of March break, anxiety about measles.
Yeah, we are concerned. He can't get his measles vaccines until he's a year old.
Right now, there are measles outbreaks in every region of the world, with cases in popular vacation hotspots like Thailand and Mexico. In the U.S., there are cases in California, New York, and Washington State, among others. But the biggest outbreak is in Texas. An unvaccinated child died there of the disease. In nearby New Mexico, another death, an adult who had measles and had also not been vaccinated. In Canada, the disease has been spreading at a breakneck pace this year. Over 200 cases reported in Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, and British Columbia. That's more than all of last year. Most of those sick are kids who are not fully immunized, catching the super contagious disease from schools, daycares, and other community settings.
Measles is actually so infectious that even after someone with measles leaves the room, the virus still lingers in the room for about 2 hours.
Many kids have needed to be hospitalized, say public health authorities.
Hi, baby.
It's terrifying, says this mom. There are several cases in Niagara where she lives, but her newborn can't get the shot yet.
She's too little, she has no protection, and it's very contagious, so I even worry just bringing her out. I've tried not to judge, but I feel very angry that it's completely preventable. It was almost eradicated.
There is no cure for measles, so the best way to protect yourself and the most vulnerable, doctors say, is by getting vaccinated, especially before traveling abroad. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
A fifth estate investigation is revealing how scammers are stealing millions from the public purse. They've been hacking into confidential accounts at Canada Revenue Agency with at least 31,000 breaches in recent years. Mark Kelly shows us how blameless taxpayers can end up on the hook.
Thank you.
David Miller was stunned when he learned someone filed a bogus tax return and received an $11,000 refund in his name. Now he has to prove it wasn't him.
At this point, I'm just wondering, what's going on? Why all this information has been changed? Who got in? How did they get in?
We have also from Stanley Park, which is...
Heidi Gurman found out her identity was stolen when the CRA sent her 2 letters. One stated a tax return filed in her name was bogus.
The second letter said that if I didn't return the $10,000, they had the ability to garnish my wages. That's what freaked me out.
Like more than 40% of Canadians, they used a tax firm to file their taxes. Those tax filers have special codes that allow them to access the CRA network. Our investigation has revealed scammers are obtaining those codes and stealing from the public purse. Bad actors obtain those codes along with stolen identification to file fake tax returns in your name to get tax refunds and then direct the cash to bank accounts they control.
I think it's a free-for-all, essentially.
Shauna Roy knows the problem firsthand. She's a former fraud investigator with the CRA.
For them to steal identities of Canadians and exhaust every, benefit possible.
The commissioner of the CRA, Bob Hamilton, recently said his agency prevents hundreds of thousands of attempts by scammers to hack into your tax accounts.
Where people are at least trying to attack us, I think we're getting better and better at resisting those.
But for victims of tax fraud, the damage is done. David Miller is still waiting for his legitimate tax refund and other government benefits that were frozen by the CRA. His credit rating is shot, he's lost his vehicle, and he's worried his house could be next.
Well, if we lose the house, we lose everything. Except we still have each other.
Mark Kelly, CBC News, Miramichi, New Brunswick.
SpaceX's latest Starship test flight has ended in another explosion. It happened minutes after the uncrewed mega rocket lifted off from Texas on Thursday.
Wow. That is so sad.
This was the view from the Bahamas, where people watched as the spacecraft exploded. People in Florida could also see fields of debris falling from the sky. In an online post, SpaceX said the vehicle experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly and contact was lost. Flights were briefly grounded at 4 airports in Florida because of falling space debris. It marks the second consecutive failure this year for Elon Musk's Mars rocket program. A CBC Marketplace investigation has found advertisers could be using popular game apps to collect sensitive information about young kids and then selling it. The CBC's Christine Brier shows us how this information can be used to track and profile children.
Sarah Dermody thought she was downloading kid-friendly games.
It said E for everyone.
That's the App Store's content rating, but we show her the developer's privacy policy, excluding its games from laws that protect kids' personal data from being shared.
It says games are not meant to be used if you are under 16. Wow.
Researchers say many games are attracting kids, even if the privacy policy says they're for adults.
It is really scandalous that it is so easy to get information from the kids like this.
The longer you play, the more money a free game can make through ads and by collecting and sharing information about players with third parties, like how long they play, what characters they select, and their location. Information can then be shared with data brokers worldwide. Posing as game developers, we approach 4 global data companies to test whether data they sell tracks kids.
None of our data will have anyone under 16.
One sends us location data for 700,000 seemingly anonymous devices in Toronto. Intentional or not, we can see the data appears to have children in it, and we confirm a specific child's steps to school, a bus stop, convenience store, and then back home.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
Companies can use data to build profiles of kids too, tracking them across the internet, using unique advertising ID codes on their phones and tablets.
So we have a profiling, really a long-term profiling of a person, and we can look at it when you will want to get a job.
Or car insurance or a mortgage. Companies can pay to access people's digital profiles. Parents can limit tracking by changing privacy settings and deleting advertising IDs on devices and telling kids to stop accepting all terms and conditions. Christine Brier, CBC News, Toronto.
As most Canadians prepare to spring forward this weekend, some are wondering how much longer we'll continue to do this. U.S. President Trump has talked about eliminating time changes, and several Canadian provinces have said they'll follow the U.S. lead. Tara Carmen reports.
I personally like an extra hour light later in the day than in the morning. Yeah.
This is one of the ways Peter Warwick escapes the winter blues. But in his house, for years, something else stays the same.
One in my kitchen, one in my bedroom, I leave on daylight time. If I'm doing dishes...
In other words, he doesn't fall back an hour in November. A move he says helps his mental health.
In late September, early October, I will crash emotionally. I'll get depressed.
He's not alone in wanting to stop the seasonal time changes. Many provinces and several U.S. states are considering it. CBC News created a tool that lets you see what sticking to one time all year would be like where you live. In the Eastern time zone that Quebec and Ontario share, if both provinces choose to stick to daylight saving time year-round, on the shortest day of the year, the sun would rise in Gaspé just after 8 a.m. But in Thunder Bay, they'd see the sun almost 2 hours later.
We have a circadian clock that aligns to sun time.
Experts who study time changes say there's a better option, skipping the spring forward and staying on standard time. This is because standard time gives us more light in the morning, which is what our bodies need to regulate our sleep-wake cycles.
It will make you more alert during the day, which is good for your, just well-being and also productivity at work.
And the alternative, staying on daylight time, would mean going to work or school in the dark for much of winter in most of the country. This could put us dangerously off our natural rhythms.
This misalignment has been linked to a bunch of health consequences, cardiovascular disease being one, diabetes, some forms of cancer.
With the possibility of changes on the horizon, when is the ideal time to experience daylight is a question Canadians may have to grapple with soon. Tara Carmen, CBC News, Gibsons, BC.
Canadian and U.S. stock markets made a turnaround this afternoon to end a rocky week on a more positive note. Here's a look at where things closed as we head to break. All right, the weekend has arrived, and it sounds like sunshine for Saturday a little bit, if you can find it, right?
That's right. Mainly cloudy, I think, for Saturday, but some sun breaks in the mix, and we will see the similar story on Sunday, and then skies gradually clearing into the afternoon on Sunday. There was a few sun breaks today as well, and Francis A. McDonald with this snapshot while the sun was shining in Inverness. And a beautiful shot here.
Wow, that's nice. Wouldn't quite go in the water just yet, but it's awfully pretty in there. Spring is getting here. And summer.
That's
maybe.
right. Francis mentioning the pack ice breaking up a little bit there along the coast as well. So, definitely feeling a bit like spring. Temps mild there, of course, today as well. Back to reality temperature-wise for Saturday with temps right near the freezing mark. Those westerly winds, 30, 40 kilometers per hour. They're going to gust near 50 for most, gusting upwards of 60 for Cape Breton, gusting to 70. Annapolis, Digby, Yarmouth, down towards Shelburne. So those will be some of the stronger gusts. And then for Sunday, we will be looking at the northwest winds, sustained near 15 to 20, gusting 30 to 40. Temperatures right near the freezing mark for most, bit cooler in Cape Breton. An onshore flurry still possible through the Inverness area. And let's show you the timeline of all this. So that low moving off to the north, that light snow and flurry action overnight. Again, a trace to a couple of centimeters possible locally. Flurry chances for Saturday as that little wave pushes through. And then for Sunday, again, the chance for flurries for Inverness County, that low kind of spinning over the Gulf of St. Lawrence, northern Inverness in particular. The rest of the province looking pretty good with that clearing into the afternoon. And we're going to stay quiet into early next week as well. We'll see mix of sun and cloud on Monday. Tuesday looking pretty good. Note those temperatures bumping up midweek. We'll see a system passing to our north that'll bring at least a chance for a shower for Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then a chance for some flurries mixing in for Thursday, but not a bad looking 7-day.
Not at all. All right. Well, if you're looking to get your hands on a rare piece of cinematic history, here is your chance. A private collection of classic movie posters is set to hit the auction block later this month.
This is Dwight Cleveland's poster collection, and his goal was to find posters that you can immediately view that give you like a synopsis instantly of the movie.
More than 500 posters spanning 125 years will go under the hammer on March 27th and 28th. The Wizard of Oz, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Sunset Boulevard, and Moulin Rouge, all among the Golden Age Hollywood classics up for grab.
The big ticket item from the lot, an original 1933 King Kong poster expected to fetch between $40,000 to $80,000. The collection will be on display in London until March 14th before heading to the U.S. to be auctioned off.
There's your chance, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.